The French Quarter, New Orleans, a place of revelry, of life lived loud and free. But on this New Year's Eve the air crackled with gunfire. The joyous shouts turned to screams. A nation watched in horror as a familiar scene unfolded. Terrorism. But the face of this terror was not one we expected. It belonged to Shamsuddin Jabbar, a veteran, a man who swore an oath to defend his country, now accused of turning against it. How does a patriot, a protector, become the very thing he swore to fight? The answer, unfortunately, isn't simple. It lies in the labyrinthine journey from battlefield to home front, a path fraught with unseen wounds and unexpected betrayals. For many veterans, the fight doesn't end when they leave the battlefield. It morphs, taking on new, insidious forms. The enemy isn't an enemy combatant, but indifference. It's a system that fails to understand the sacrifices made, the scars borne. And sometimes, in that chasm of understanding, something breaks. The lines blur, the anger, the disillusionment festers. For some, like Shamsuddin Jabbar, it becomes a path to radicalization. A desperate grasp for control, for meaning in a world that seems to have left them behind. This is the story of that descent. It's a story we must confront, not with fear or judgment, but with empathy and a commitment to understanding. The men and women who serve this country deserve more than our gratitude. They deserve our unwavering support, long after the parades have ended and the battle cries have faded. The transition from military to civilian life is rarely smooth. Veterans often struggle with invisible wounds, PTSD, moral injury, survivor's guilt. They return to a society ill-equipped to comprehend their experiences, a system that often fails to provide the support they need. This is particularly true when it comes to encounters with law enforcement and the legal system. Veterans, trained to be hypervigilant and decisive, can find themselves at odds with a system that often misinterprets their behavior. A misunderstanding, a moment of crisis, can escalate quickly. We've seen it time and again, veterans struggling with trauma, ending up in jail rather than treatment centers. The very institutions meant to protect them become instruments of their alienation. The statistics are stark. Veterans represent a disproportionate number of those incarcerated. Many are there for non-violent offenses, often stemming from untreated mental health issues. This is not justice. It is a betrayal of the very people who put their lives on the line for this country. Shamsuddin Jabbar, the perpetrator of the New Orleans attack, was reportedly a decorated veteran. What led him to this act of horrific violence? While the full details of his life remain unclear, one can't help but wonder if he too felt failed by the system he once swore to protect. Did he encounter indifference, hostility, even brutality at the hands of those meant to serve and protect? The details of Shamsuddin Jabbar's life are still emerging. What we do know is that he was a 42-year-old Army veteran from Texas. He served his country, likely in some of the most dangerous corners of the world. He returned home, as many veterans do, forever changed by his experiences. The question that haunts us is, what transformed this soldier into a terrorist? While the investigation is ongoing, early reports suggest that Jabbar may have become radicalized online. The internet, for all its virtues, has become a breeding ground for extremism. Disillusioned, isolated individuals can find solace and purpose in the dark corners of the web, drawn in by narratives of hate and division. Was this Jabbar's path? Did he find solace in online forums, connecting with others who shared his anger, his sense of alienation? Did these virtual echo chambers amplify his rage, pushing him towards violence? It's a chilling possibility, one that underscores the insidious nature of online radicalization. Jabbar's story, though extreme, is not unique. There are countless other veterans grappling with similar demons, struggling to find their footing in a society that often feels indifferent to their sacrifices. We must reach them before they too are lost to the darkness. The New Orleans attack is a tragedy on many levels. It is a stark reminder of the vulnerability of our society, the ever-present threat of violence. But it is also a stark reminder of the struggles faced by many veterans, the invisible wounds they carry, and the ways in which we, as a society, are failing them. We cannot simply mourn the dead and move on. We must use this tragedy as a catalyst for change. We must bridge the gap between those who have served and those who have not, fostering a deeper understanding of the sacrifices made and the challenges faced by our veterans. This means investing in comprehensive mental health services for veterans, ensuring they have access to the care they need, when and where they need it. It means reforming our criminal justice system, recognizing the unique needs of veterans, and offering alternatives to incarceration. It means creating supportive communities where veterans feel valued, understood, and empowered to rebuild their lives. Most importantly, it means listening to our veterans, hearing their stories, honoring their experiences, and acknowledging their sacrifices. Only then can we hope to prevent tragedies like the New Orleans attack from happening again. We must not wait for another act of violence to shake us from our complacency. The time for action is now. The lives of our veterans depend on it.